Hi, I'm Tony Northrup, and for Chapter 3 of my book, Stunning Digital Photography, I'd like to show you how you can use a bounce flash to improve your photos. So we have our model Chelsea Lip here, and I'll take a picture of her with just natural light. So that's not bad, but you can see there's some kind of odd lighting on her face, and that's because behind me here, the floor is being lit by the sun, and then that floor light is bouncing up and kind of like underlighting her, and that's the lighting you'd use in a horror movie. It's not the lighting you'd use for a portrait, right? So we want to kind of take control of that lighting and add some front lighting or some nice top lighting. So I'll try just turning on the on-camera flash here, because this is what everybody does, and I'll take a photo with that. So that definitely changed the lighting, right? But not necessarily for the better. Now we have two kind of weird catch lights, and all the flash did was kind of add a harsh reflective light to her face with lots of ugly specular highlights, and it made this really hard shadow underneath her chin. There's an easy way to make this much better, and that's to add an external flash. I have one in my pocket. So I'm just gonna put this on my camera and turn it on. And I have it in fully automatic mode, so I'll just take another picture. So that's better than the on-camera flash, but it's still leaving a really distinct shadow under her chin. The improvement is because I just raised the light source a little bit away from the camera lens. So now it's a little bit higher, and that just gives a more pleasing shadow. But we can raise the light source even higher just by doing this. Just bounce it off the ceiling. And now the whole ceiling here is going to become part of the light source. So I'll take a sample shot like that. See how much softer that shadow is under her chin? And just generally the lighting on the face is so much better. And the catch light in her eyes looks really nice too, because now the light source is much higher, moving that catch light up a little bit. There's another modification to that I really like to make, and that's to flip this diffuser out. Just about all mid-range and higher-end flashes will have this. And there's also a little white reflector card there that I can use. And what this reflector card is going to do is it's going to bounce some of the light straight forward, just filling in some of the shadows. So instead of just the ceiling being the light source, it's going to add a little bit of front lighting too. So we'll have a combination of top and front lighting. So I'll take a couple more shots. So you can see if you look closely that changed both the light on her face and the catch light in her eyes. So I'll put that card back, and then I want to experiment with turning this to the side a little bit, because one of the great things about a bounce flash is you don't have to bounce it straight up. You can actually bounce it off of the left or right walls. And you really need to size up the room that you're in, because it's going to be reflecting off the walls and the ceiling. Therefore, there's no one rule. But I will often like to bounce it off the side just to get a little bit of side lighting in there, so the lighting isn't just so square and from the front. So let's see what happens when I bounce it off the left a little bit. So you can see that changing the angle of the head does change the lighting, but that's going to vary depending on the room that you're in. If you had differently colored walls or ceilings, that would change it too. If you had bright green walls or bright red walls, that color would reflect back on your model and change their skin tone. So that's something you need to look out for. Often ceilings will be painted something different, or they'll be metal, and that will change the way your bounce flash works. So you really have to experiment and size up the room that you're in, and there's no rule to it. You just have to learn through experience. So I'll try bouncing the flash off the right wall here, and we'll see if that's different than the left wall. And you can see that did change the lighting. Now we have what I call broad lighting, because by bouncing the light off the right wall, it's illuminating the side of her face that's closer to the camera. In other words, the larger side of her face. When I bounced it off the left wall, it was bouncing off and hitting the far side of her face, and I call that narrow lighting. So you can see you really have a lot of control just by twisting your flash head around just a little bit. This room isn't a good choice for it, but sometimes I'll even bounce it off the wall behind me to make a huge light source. I have just open area behind me, so that sort of reflection wouldn't really work. Now, if you're in a room with high ceilings, you might find that the flash doesn't make it all the way down to your subject. You can try adding more power, but in larger rooms, bounce flash simply won't work. It also won't work outside. If you want to light somebody with flash and have it not look terrible when you're outside or in a room with high ceilings or colored walls, I suggest putting a softbox or other light modifier on your flash. I hope you found this video useful. If you want more free videos like this, go ahead and click subscribe. And if you liked it, click like. Now, if you want a ton of free videos, you can get my book, Stunning Digital Photography, which now has more than 7 hours of video just like this. No commercials, nothing. Most of which you will not be able to get on YouTube at all. So if you're in the US or UK or Canada, go ahead and go to Amazon. Otherwise, you can go right to our website at sdpcommunity.com. If you're not into books, don't worry, we have a whole series of DVD training that teaches you concepts just like this, mastering lighting, composition, flash, posing, everything. So please do check that out at Amazon or sdpcommunity.com. And questions, comments, add them in down below. Thanks.